Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Wednesday lighting critique. We have a handful of images to go through here. We've got these lovely folks on the left-hand side of the screen joining us as well. Let's see, we've got Clarissa, Shibli, you're here. So we'll go ahead and start with yours, and then, let's see, yeah, and then we got Mindy, Clarissa, and Ubaid. Okay, cool. All right, make this bigger so you can see. All right, cool. I love this reference. Let's start there. I think it's just so pretty. Again, the warm, cool combination of the warmth of the house versus the coolness of the snow. I love this like kind of buildup of like a little bit of darkness here in the foreground, and it like gets brighter as we go back into that space. A little bit of a rim on the mouse character just to kind of feel that a little bit more, and it's just like a really nice color palette and just a nice. I'll use the word simple, but it's not that simple, like structure of an image. You've got some of the basic qualities there. You've got this darkness leading back into the cabin, which is working out really well. The areas that I think could really improve this are, I think the blue color or the cool color, the sky color, I think is looking pretty good. I feel like that's hitting about right. But I think the orange color, the warm color, can get a little bit more red. It's just starting to feel a little bit yellow in parts, and I want it to be a little more red, and I also want it to affect, like, the thing that's really nice about this is like you can see it like affecting the trees over here and just kind of the air around this, and that'll be really important. So I want to project it out further, so it's kind of hitting these trees. Maybe there's a window on the back of this house that's kind of hitting some of the stuff over there. I just want it to influence a little bit more. Another thing that's reading differently in this is the color of the cabin itself. It looks gray. It looks like are there shaders on the wood yet, or is that just?
Okay, I realized like this morning that there is a shader, but I had to reload the texture, so I think it just looks super off. I thought it was correct,
Okay,
but I think it's actually super
got
off. I need to reload the texture on
it. Yeah, I would say it might just be like a broken connection, like it's trying to read in a texture map that I can't find or something. So yeah, so the warmth of that light plus the influence on the space around it. And a big thing too is just adding some aerial perspective, some atmospheric fall off. The way that there's like, haze back. Like if you look at these trees in the distance, like they're classic, less contrast. It's shifting a little bit more blue back there, and just like less detail. Really helps the space feel bigger. Where here it's like the mountains aren't getting that yet, so it's just messing with the sense of scale. So adding that will really make this scene feel a lot bigger. A couple other things is that when others have worked on this, I've encouraged people to put some like primitive geometry into the house itself to kind of make it look like there's furniture or some signs of life in there. That's just a little. I would almost call that a pet peeve of mine about buildings. Is because you just construct them on the outside and then you're like cool, and then they're like looking at the windows. It just never feels right when they're just kind of like one solid color. I say that too because I look out my own window at the surrounding apartments and stuff, and I kind of because I'm always curious about like how that. It was mostly when I was working on a night city scene in a film, and I was just like looking at like how you could see people's lamps and couches, and you could see like specific things. So that sounded kind of creepy. Now that I realized I was just like looking out the window, that's not what I was doing. I promise you that. Okay. And then the other thing that's interesting about your reference is the idea of this. I think this mouse character really does something interesting to the scene. So I'm wondering, and this is totally up to you. I'm wondering if it like adding something in here in the foreground just to see if we can do that same thing. That kind of, because it's kind of like this connection between it's like the long. Like I don't know why like there's something about this mouse. It's his posture. It's like there's a longing to be in this home, and there's something about like the way that the light is just barely trickling as it gets here. Because it's almost like trying to draw him in for whatever reason, and I think that like, and again, total personal preference. If you wanted to create something similar to that in this scene, that would be. I just think that's an interesting emotional cue on that. Do you guys have anything else? Any other thoughts? Shibli, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I have a question.
Shoot.
Even if I'm gonna try to find something to put there, but
Mhm.
even if I can't find someone, should the light from the house spill onto that far, like to the rim of that snow where you circled?
Unless it's for the story, I don't think it should, because that feels pretty far. that feels like it would like with I don't to me it feels a little too far, but yeah, if there's a reason, like it doesn't strike me as weird in this shot at all that it goes that far. Just because there's
that's also a bigger house too. It's a bigger amount of light coming out of the house.
It's more. I think it's just like more about like the fact that I want to connect this mouse to this house.
Gotcha.
And not just because those worms are behind. Okay. Cool.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah.
One other thing, really quick.
Yeah. Sure.
On your ice, there's that really tight speck on like kind of the bottom right, the white one in the ice, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be reflecting from the stars or what it's from.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really match up with anything in the scene. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
it's probably just a speck thing, but it's bright enough that I'm like, what's that there? I'm like looking for like a meteor or a shooting star or something coming through.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a very good call, Kat. All right. Let's go through. Then we'll go through the rest of these. So we've got Clarissa's, which is looking lovely. I think having these disappear back into space is really nice. There's something about the depth of field that's throwing me off, and that when it's this small, the blur would actually start to happen closer to the rabbit. It feels like it would be like even like maybe a little bit of this would be out of focus. And then the depth of field would really start like if you just even try with if you have an iPhone with like portrait mode's like just fake. But if I'm trying to think of an example, if you look at some photographs of let's pull in some reference of what a bunny photograph looks like, and you'll see that like if there is depth of field, it's going to be pretty immediate directly behind it. So I would maybe just check that and make sure that's feeling about right. I think the wings of the butterfly wings look a lot better. The biggest thing for me is I love the shaping on like around the rim of the bunny, and I love that we're getting some of these lights are influencing the fur. But top down, the bunny feels pretty consistent on this fill side. And I want it to be a little bit brighter towards the top and a little bit darker towards the bottom, just kind of uniformly. And I think that's my big. That's kind of my big note on this one. Would just be to work on the bunny as a whole, just making it slightly brighter towards the top. If that's adjusting the existing lights, go for it. If that's adding just one, just to kind of get just something. A little bit like that, just to get a little, we might have to actually increase the contrast there too. Sorry, because then it's really tricky because again it's black, white, and gray values, which I'm trying to dial that in so the darks are nice. There we go, something like that. Just to get a little more attention there in the face. What are you guys thinking about this? How are you guys feeling? It's also because of the square aspect ratio, it feels a little bit more compressed in. Like I'm wondering, and it's fine that it is this way. I'm just curious is if we made it more landscape, made it wider, if it would feel a little bit more like there's a larger world to it and less like this bunny rabbit was being boxed in. I don't know. How do you guys feel about the square format? Do you feel like that's compressing it? Would you like to see it wider? What are you thinking?
I don't know if she needs to go full on rectangle, but just making the square a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking back at her prior one, and she had the lights in the sky, and I think she got rid of those. But I kind of like the lights in the sky
Mhm.
because they kind of provided a little bit more of a story to it.
Yeah, like lights, like the
The
floating
little
lights.
drop,
Yeah,
the little light,
see,
light bugs. Yeah,
see,
she had a couple that were floating,
I kind of
so
like
I think
them.
that might be good.
I kind of like them all in the grass, like they're little creatures that live in the grass. But I could, yeah, that's open for interpretation. Maybe also maybe some more variety in the sky, like a little bit of stars back there too, would help.
I think if she made it a bit bigger and then did it a little vignette on the side, so like things fade off, that might help too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one here? All right. And sometimes the square format is just because there is no, like, her computer can only handle this much grass, and if that's the case, that's okay too. Don't worry about it. That's a technical solution. That's fine. All right, Mindy. So I think this is looking a lot better from the last iteration. We've got a lot more balance between the light and the shadows. Like, I think the brightness of this light is feeling just about right. I think the shadows are present but not looking dirty. I wonder if I'm looking at the ground, wondering if the shadows in the ground might be too contrasty, but I think that might be okay. What are you guys thinking about this? How are you guys feeling about this one? Let's try. I'm going to keep playing with stuff here while we're talking. Are there any? Oh, go ahead.
Displacement is still not fixed, right?
The what?
The displacement on the ground is
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's not fixed.
Yeah. So that would be a good one. Yeah, try getting the displacement on the ground. Get that worked out, and then because you can see it over here. You're right. Yeah, if we can get a little more displacement on the ground, I think that'll actually, because that'll offset the geometry at render time, and that'll allow a little bit of light maybe to bounce in there too. I was just adding. Let's see if I can add a little bit of this too. I guess that's just a touch. Yeah, ends up looking about the same. Yeah.
I'm looking at the plants. Sorry. The plants on the second floor on the blue building, the ones that are facing into the alley. I don't know if they should have that much spec because they're basically in shadow, technically speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're just as tiny as the plants across the way.
Yeah.
And the sun's coming from behind them.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's take down the spec on that. And now that you bring up the plants, I was just looking at these two too, and I think that
blue wall might be a bit dark. Need to be a bit darker in shadow. I don't know. It's a little hard to tell, but it looks like it's supposed to be more in shadow than the other wall.
Let's try that. I just desaturated the plants a little bit too. I think that helps set them back into. So I would desaturate the greens on the plants. Let's take a look at darkening this blue wall too. Let's see. That go. Sorry. Yeah, that's just not going to look great if I do that. Let me try just try gaming. Yeah, it's going to do the same thing. Well, that'll be a better mock-up. All right. Any other thoughts while I'm mumbling to myself and rocking this up? I think.
Yeah, I think that looks better because you have the shadow from that balcony on the floor, but then the wall was still really bright. So it looks better like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Might just be a matter of taking down the shader value on that too. But I'm sorry, somebody else is going to say something?
Oh, I think this is probably just a model thing, but because of how bright it is, I think the lines that are like there's like the lamp on the left. There's a line that goes up, and there's a line that like connects the left building to the right building.
Oh.
They just feel kind of distracting to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Because the wall's getting so bright up there that they just feel like they're just lines out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder... Yeah, in a situation like that, because your only two options are to decrease the exposure a little bit on the wall, or I mean, I would just maybe delete those two, because I don't think they're helping. In this particular case, I don't think they're helping the composition. Because I think Austin's right. I think they're standing out a little bit too much. That's a great call. That's a great one. All right, cool. This is very close though, Mindy. I would say yeah. So let's work on the displacement. Give a try at darkening that wall. Let's desaturate the plants, taking the speck off the ones on the second floor, and then just go ahead and delete these two wires over there, just because they're leading to. It's almost like a graphic read on them. Okay, last up we have Ubaid. So this is actually in Unreal. So this is a real-time thing. So it's not. This isn't like a static camera. I was gonna give when I first saw this, I wanted to give notes on the framing of it, but this is a live read on this. So it like it's dynamic. It'll change. Who is it? I think. Oh, someone had a note. I forget who it was. If this was your note, let me know, and because I want to give proper credit to it. Actually, let me just see. It was the note was basically Abhishek said this to darken the bottom part of this image a little bit more, and that'll really help kind of ground it into place. And I thought that was a good idea. And basically, it's because again, in a real time setting where the audience is going to be kind of all over the place, there's an inkling to be like, oh, let's not make anywhere too dark because we don't know where they're going to look. I would feel pretty confident that they're not going to look underneath this octopus. And so I think that we can kind of zero in on the character there. That being said, I do also think that we can create a dynamic overall that is a little bit brighter towards the top and kind of gradients down. Like I think we can actually, it's just like, because right now we're seeing the blue sky up there, and I don't think that's a thing you see if you're underwater and you look up, especially if you're photographing it. I feel like it would just be like bright up there, like the way it is kind of out of my window right now, right? Like we're not seeing buildings and we're not seeing things out there. We're just seeing brightness, and I think that would be the same way as we're underwater, exposed for underwater, looking outward. It would just be bright up there. So just check some reference on that. In terms of the character itself, there's these kind of like blue lines on the cards. Maybe those are caustics or something, but it's kind of like just watch out for those. There's an interesting debate when you're doing stuff that's underwater because of the way things work. There's actually no specularity underwater. There's no spec. It's just like there's no, like everything is equal wet. So there's not like, your skin doesn't look oily. Fish look shiny, but only because they're reflective, not because they're specular, if that makes sense. So like I'm seeing the wetness on his face, and I'm okay with it. I just want to draw attention to somebody else might look at that and be like, that doesn't feel underwater to me. So maybe just tone it down a little bit. And then I'm wondering too.
Should they put bubbles maybe somewhere kind of more like in front of him a little bit, not where it's distracting his face, but it kind of looks like he's stuck in the scene, not that he's part of the water.
Oh, yeah. Like he's the one actually causing some of the bubbles?
Yeah, or even just to kind of give it or just something that reflects either on the tentacles or something, or caustics or something on the tentacles to make it feel like he's underwater.
Yeah.
'Cause it looks like he's almost like sitting in front of a fish tank.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and I also think that...
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
like Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
like we have the caustics in place. So since it's a static screenshot, the animated caustics are not being captured.
Got it.
And like the bubble thing, it's like a VFX particle that is being controlled using blueprints. So it will like randomly play in bursts. So I think for the next session I'll put a updated video.
Yeah,
so
let's
it
try
would
to
be very clear.
Yeah, let's try it as a video and we'll see it from there. But I think the rest of it still stands with like darkening the like darkening down below and kind of brightening up above, watching out for the specularity on the character, and then we'll take a look at it in real time. I'm also there might be more that we can do with the tentacle arms too, because I'm kind of looking at them and wondering, because they should be. I'd have to look at more octopus reference, but they underwater because they don't feel. They feel slippery and not like squishy. Like they're not like they look like they have bones, and they look like they have like it looks like my arm and not like a tentacle, and I'm trying to pinpoint why. And I think some of it would be the subsurface on it or that type of thing. Also, it's like we're seeing. Yeah, it might just be more of like just like a little bit more subsurface on them too, because they just look a little more robust than I think of octopus tentacles as being. Although I could be wrong. Okay, cool. Do you guys have anything else for today? Any other questions? Anything? Any other ideas?
I posted my image.
Oh, you did?
I don't think you pulled it.
Where did it go?
And Ruby's posted hers too. So
the hell?
it was yesterday. So you might have missed it
Ruby.
because we posted them yesterday afternoon.
Oh no, I definitely grabbed yours, Cat.
Oh,
Ruby.
there you go.
Well, let's give Ruby the clap that she deserves, because I went ahead and posted this to the Hall of Fame. So you guys, if you guys are ready, I think we're ready to clap. Here we go. Yeah, Ruby.
Yay.
All right. Yeah, here we go. All right, Kat, will you talk? I'll go and get this loaded up. While I'm doing that, will you talk through the changes? I mean, obviously the face is a little bit. We got a little more wraparound. What else we got going on?
That's pretty much all I did was I moved one of the spotlights to give more color or wraparound on the face and the arm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because moving that spotlight around and it changing, because I made it diffuse without any speck because it was making her hair too specky. So I actually changed the shader on her hair a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
But it somehow made the tutu look even more translucent. So like if you look at the tutu, there's actually parts where you can see through it,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of cool because it makes it look more realistic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Is the hair looking right? Because it was too specky, and then I changed it, and I don't know if there's too much light on the screen right side of her hair now, or
So yeah.
with the way I'm saying, if that makes sense. I don't know.
So
Or screen
no,
right
you're
side.
no, you're totally making sense. I think so. There's two things. One, I love this rim down her arm. It's a little pencil thin for me. It's like a little teeny tiny. I would just wrap it around a little bit more around the side.
Mm-hmm.
Just like pull it around like another couple degrees. For her hair,
Okay.
and this might just be, I haven't looked into this character too much because she's new, but like I would double check and make sure that, because I know the way that Sarah builds things with hair in terms of like there's an alpha channel that cuts out, because it almost looks like these are more like leaves and not hair right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, so just double check that the opacity is working in the shader, if that's set
Okay.
up. If not, I would say we should just darken the hair a little bit, and then just like darken it back here, and then just, because really what we want, the main, like, because if we had to give us like a priorities of what we want this hair to do, we want first and foremost for there to be a little bit of rim on this side to match up with the light that's coming in the window and kind of coming down there. If that's there and we can get that looking good and like the rest of this just kind of falls into darkness, I think we're okay. I think a secondary goal will be this little bit of a back kick on it, but like I really want that to be in place too. The other thing I was going to say was just make sure to soften the shadow on the I guess it would be increasing the radius of light, just to soften just a little bit of this light on the table too, because it's not. It's funny. It's because like the window itself has like these hatches, like these cross sections,
Mm-hmm.
and what's being projected is just like two squares onto the table, which means which is almost like that looks almost more like a traditional window paned window. So what that means to me is that it's actually being stretched out quite a bit, and so it would actually be softer a little bit too.
That's actually 2 pieces of paper. That's actually part of the model.
Oh,
The 2 white squares are pieces of paper. I can get rid of them. I just left them on there. But
yeah.
I can dump them if you want.
do that. That's way better than soft. It's just there, yeah, because it really reads like 2 bright squares that with hard edges.
Okay,
cool.
I'll dump them. No worries.
Cool.
Less things to worry about.
That was my favorite note. It's like, oh, I don't like that. Just delete it. You're like, done and done. I will do that anytime. All right, cool. Anybody got anything else? I think we're good. All right, great. You guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'm gonna go have some lunch, and I will talk to you all very soon. Enjoy, and keep posting movies and references and what movies changed you in our general discussion channel. I want to hear from all of you. All right, talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.
Bye.